Many people ask me, when did I get my connection to my guides? It's actually been since I was a child. I used to have nightmares of being trapped in an all-white room and feeling like I was in a straitjacket with my arms bound. As a child, I grew up in darkness. My mother was raised in a cult, so that came out onto her children. And I have a twin brother who I would protect. I was going to take my own life. I was done here. And in that moment, my guides came through very strongly, and they asked me, so you know that you're here for a reason, so what is it? And immediately, the answer came.
So, is there any chance of us getting a glimpse?
This group is coming to a time of divine intervention. You are entering into a phase where you are ready to see what is beyond the physical. Once there has been mastery in the physical, then comes the understanding of the heart. This leads you into deeper knowing and deeper understanding of the true core of you as a multi-dimensional being. Prepare and learn the multi-dimensional connection that you have at this time so that you are fully equipped for future connections to take place. Those that will occur on individual levels and those that will occur on global levels. Prepare your multi-dimensional selves.
Hello everyone, my name is Eluña. I am an Akashic channeler and a psycho-spiritual healer and teacher, and this is a very special kind of video. It is not one that I have released before. This is a recorded video from an event that I did in Los Angeles. I was invited to be a featured mystic at the Mystic Manor, and during that evening I was able to share some of my story, but also some of my own personal practices as a channeler and how I have grown in my abilities and developed the gifts that I have come in with. I also was able to do a live Q&A with the audience and a live channeling that the three guides came through during. The energy from that evening was so powerful and so meaningful to the people who attended and to some others that I showed some footage from with this recording that I just thought I would release it so that everyone would be able to watch this and that you could get some of your own insights around developing your own skills as a channeler and some of the other really deep questions that the audience asked. So I hope that you enjoy this. Before you get into that video, I am going to be at an event called the Channel Panel, Dawn of Disclosure, at the very beginning of January, from the 3rd to the 5th in Sedona, Arizona. I am presenting a workshop and also doing a live Q&A and channeling with the audience, like what you will experience in this video that you're going to watch. And I am so excited. There are going to be so many other beautiful people from the space, including Neil Gower and Daniel Scranton, Flo Karuna, Daryl Anka is going to be there. There will be so many people, and I'm really quite honored and excited to be doing that. If you would like to attend, the link for the tickets to that are in the description down below. The next time that you can see me in person is going to be during my initiation through Egypt, the third journey that I will be leading there. That will be from May 7th to the 24th. It is called Return to the Mother. There is a whole video about it and full description on my website. I highly encourage you to check that out if that feels calling. If you have felt called to go to Egypt, or if that name, Return to the Mother, does something to you in your heart, I highly encourage you to go read about it and see if you are called to join this journey. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to my support team. I hope that you enjoy this very fun video and recording from my time as a featured mystic at the Mystic Manor in Los Angeles.
How's everyone doing? Amazing. Got a full house. A lot of beautiful faces. Many of you know, some of you may not. This week's featured mystic, Eluña Noel, an incredible Akashic records channeler, healer, intuitive, such a magical soul. Had the privilege of connecting, a few months ago for the first time, and really blown away by the clarity of this soul. And yeah, thank you for being here and taking the time to do this and share, your gifts and your wisdom. If you would, like I said, I know a lot of people in the room know who you are, but a lot don't too. If you would share whatever feels relevant to share about your backstory, just, give us some context for
Sure.
why you're sitting here.
Yeah, happily. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. I don't know all of your faces, but I will by the end of tonight. I'm sure I know many of your hearts and souls already. So some of my background, many people ask me, when did I get my connection to my guides? And it's actually been since I was a child. So since I was a kid, my guides have spoken to me, and I thought that was very normal. I thought that everybody did. For a little while, I thought it was, oh, that's the voice of my conscience, because that's what a lot of people talk about. But then there was information that came through that was very clearly not. There was no way that it could be just my conscience of what I thought my conscience could know. So having future dreams, being told something that might happen, being guided to do something that seemed very strange, of like stopping someone from leaving at a certain time. I have a very distinct memory of doing that with my sister, and I was like, wait, you actually can't go yet, just hold on. And I was 6. Thankfully she trusted me. She was quite a bit older, so it took some trust, but she did. And that's how I knew that there was something a little different about it, and I realized that I couldn't talk about it to everyone. My guides didn't tell me that, but I just got that feeling, especially from so many movies that have come out, about if you're hearing voices in your head, then there's something wrong with you, you're crazy. And of course, that is only really just now in this time, something that I think we're finally moving away from. But that's still deeply triggering and activating for people to consider that something bad might happen to them. I used to have nightmares of being trapped in an all-white room and feeling like I was in a straitjacket with my arms bound when I was a kid, and I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what a mental institution was. I didn't know what a straitjacket was. But there was real fear there. And so I did not talk to anyone in my family about it. I knew to just keep it to myself. But when I got older, my guides saw me through a lot. They helped me out of a lot of darkness from my childhood and just into my 20s, my younger years. And they came back very strongly when I really started asking them to. When I started asking these deeper questions about, so really what am I doing here? I know that I'm here for a reason, but I really want to understand why. What is it? There has to be something more than just the story that we are told of, well, you grow up and then you get married and then you have children. That never felt like something that I wanted. And so I couldn't understand, well, then what else am I here for? And when I started asking deeper questions, more things started to come through about universal principles of what it means to be a part of this earth. What does it mean to be part of a collective and a small microorganism in a huge macroorganism that is our planet and that is humanity? That is really when things started to shift for me, when I saw myself no longer as this individual Eluña, but really, why am I here for all and with all? Because it's about being together. It's about the togetherness of why we came. That's really our purpose. And so they have come through very strongly, and they have started to help me help others also ask and answer those same questions of, what am I here to bring to everyone? What is it that I bring? What is the special medicine that is only in me that I can help bring out in others and that I offer to the world, to the space around me? So that started, again, a few years ago, and I just listen, and I'm always surprised by what they tell me next, but it came out that it was time to start helping kind of a larger group of people. And so that's what started this year, and that's how you found me.
Yeah, it's, I recall when we talked previously, it seems like your story is parallel to a lot of people who sort of have this gift and then it's suppressed. And, I know you had a period where you sort of shut it down, and then in your teen years, if I recall, kind of came back again. And so it's kind of been a start-stop thing for you.
It was,
and even recently really putting yourself out there in the last year or so, and just, reaching a tremendous amount of people in a very short period of time, which I think is, a testament to your gifts. I've had a lot of people. I've done a podcast for 10 years called Positive Head. Some of you know, some of you don't. I've had, some of the brightest luminaries and big names that you all know, and a lot of people who, have intuitive gifts or channels, not many have really blown me away with what came through, and you were one of them.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Thank
you know, with some of the
Wow.
validating things that we've laughed about that came through, it's like, obviously you're talking to my guides. Like, there's no way you would know, which you just said, that it's so silly and ridiculous. And so yeah, I guess that's what I'd like to sort of ask you about, that piece of it, the start, stop, you know, because you said only a few years ago that it really has become activated. What's that been like, if you could share with everyone?
That's a beautiful question. And I actually just briefly want to jump to before I turned 14, the period of time that it turned off when I was a child. It turned off right when I started puberty. And that is, I've come to learn, of actually a very normal thing. When someone's body is going through something crazy and traumatic, because puberty is slightly traumatic, you cannot have as much connection. Some people have almost the opposite, and they are like so wide open that it's a little bit overwhelming during that time, because they actually need so much grounding and so much assistance during a traumatic time or during puberty, that they didn't realize that they were going to be so open. But that was not the case for me. My gifts had to turn off, essentially, so that I could fully just ground into my body. And that's really why it came back when I was older. So I had a period of time that I had to go through where I really had to transmute and work through the trauma that I had experienced as a child. My home life was rather hectic and chaotic, and so there was no way that I would be able to connect with my guides, with my body being in a basically trauma and crisis response all the time. So I had to learn how to calm that down, and that's been through years of movement, meditative movement like yoga and qigong. It's been through meditation itself, connecting to the void and being kind of away, and then coming back and really integrating everything that I had experienced in meditation, and also deeply connecting to the earth. I cannot stress that enough. There are so many people in the space who like really want to just be gone, and I totally understand that, because it's beautiful out there. It's also beautiful here, right here. In this room, it's beautiful. And being able to be fully present in this space and on this earth that we chose to be a part of. We cannot connect to something beyond ourselves if we are not fully grounded and happy right here, right where we are. The tools that come through with astral travel, with connecting to something beyond, they are meant to be used as tools. They are not meant to be used as escape trains and fly away air balloons to be above everything and not be in touch anymore. That to me is a way of misusing something that we are, all of us, gifted with. And so for me, part of just my lesson, and I believe it's probably part of my teaching here, is to be fully grounded exactly in who we are, in what we are, and in where we are, rather than saying, I'm just going to go dip out and go astral travel for a while. We're meant to be here. So my gifts came back on when I was older. Actually, essentially, they were there. It's a bit more complex, but I was talking with my guides a lot. And of course, doing the natural ego thing of, was that really my guides, or was that just my head? Maybe am I telling myself that I want to do that, or are my guides really encouraging me to do that? That's so normal, of course, the doubt. And it was after I got my one and only Akashic reading with Debbie Solaris. I don't know if some of you know her, back when she was doing readings. And everything that I didn't, of course, tell her anything before I went on with her, and everything she said, verbatim, in words that I had never heard anyone else use, like psycho-spiritual healer, came from her and said, that's what you're doing here. And I was like, okay, so I really am listening. I really am hearing what my guides are telling me. It's not just something that I'm making up in my head. That's a real thing. And she's tuning into that. And all of these past lives that I had been connected to since I was a child, that had always come through. The one that came through the strongest was my most recent one prior to this incarnation, of being an Indigenous man and basically fighting against the government. That came through for me when I was a child all the time, and filled me with that was like a lot of rage to overcome, because learning about what has happened and what is going on, it was very challenging as a fourth grader to try to understand why am I feeling this much rage right now about this topic when I'm just in a history lesson. That was difficult, but it was confirmed with Debbie. And that for me essentially is what did it. I just decided then and there, okay, I'm done doubting. I'm not going to question anymore when I feel that energy come through, is that me or is that actually my guide? I'm just not going to question it anymore. And that is really what has led me here. The no more questioning. That's that's what did it.
Yeah, it's got to help after a while to get the validations, like I'm sure you've seen. I mean, I'll just share with you guys because it's really funny. And
Is this about the berry coffee?
Yes. So she goes into a channeled state where we have our interview on the podcast, and then she offers to do a channeling, which if we're lucky, we'll get her to do some here in a bit. She's talking to my guides. And now the night before was Father's Day, and I'm from Virginia originally. My favorite dessert is blackberry cobbler. It's the last food I'd eaten. My mom made it for me on Father's Day, right? And so here it is the next morning, and she's in her channeled state talking to my guides, and she's like, kind of gets this puzzled look. She goes, "Yeah, your guides are saying you're like a delicious berry cobbler that's been cooked too long." And she goes in this whole explanation, and I'm like, literally, that's the last food I have ingested, right? I mean, so you get that, and then there was other things that were just like such powerful, pieces of information and confirmation. So I got to imagine that helps over time to get, you start seeing like, oh, hold on, like there's some verification, and so yeah, and I know part of what we've talked about you doing here is helping everyone else here learn what techniques, possibly a guided meditation, helping people to connect with their guides. And I think that's a really important piece of intuitive or psychic gifts. Like, I don't claim to go out and channel, and yet I've had some powerful experiences, some of which I've shared with you, intuitive messages coming through. And so it's in all of us. It's like, I always put it, and tell me if you agree, it's like, we can all shoot a basketball and make it sometime. And some people were born to be LeBron James, right? Like, that is their dharmic path, to be this incredible player in that arena, if you will. So do you agree with all of that?
That definitely feels resonant. Yeah, I will say, I'm still a student. I always will be. It's really the thing that I love the most about being alive is learning. That's why I came here. And I think that everyone has a different connection and a way of connecting. Some people their connection is music. That's one of the things that I admire and appreciate the most, are those who are channeled music givers. Their medicine is music. And I don't know what I would do without those beings. And that's natural for them. That's not me. I am not a basketball player either. Don't put a basketball in my hand. I think that also so much of it is past life. And that's actually, or parallel really, my guides always correct me, parallel life. That's actually one of the things that I do love helping people connect with is during readings, is helping them understand how their intuitive gifts work. Because this is the time, one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Joe Dispenza, says this: we are past the time of people knowing, and people want to know how. And that is where we are, and we do need to know how, because whether or not people are prepared, the energies are coming through, people's intuitive gifts are opening up, and it can feel really overwhelming. People who feel like they have zero connection to this world, all of a sudden start seeing things and they're like, my God, what's happening? It can be very scary and disconcerting. And so helping people with that, helping people understand how their own intuition works, is something that I love doing, and I'm still figuring out how mine works too, all the time, every day. It's just part of my process. So yeah, I think some people come in with certain things that they're here to offer, and they are maybe just more aware of it, again, possibly through trauma, right? But yeah, that's how it has been.
Yeah, I think the way you put it makes a lot of sense. It's like, if you have lifetimes, parallel lives, a dharmic path that's like, this is, there's probably a lot of things I could do from this seat forward, but go and be the center of the Los Angeles Lakers probably isn't one of them. To go back to a basketball example, it's just not, and yet you can see the people that was very much programmed in as a very high probability in that lifetime. And so, what's exciting about connecting with your guides and intuitive gifts and all those things is it is there and available to some degree for all of us.
Absolutely.
And so, if it feels good to you, perhaps it would be a good moment to open up for a few questions and see if anyone here has something that you'd like to ask.
Absolutely.
Eluña, pertaining to really whatever. Anyone have any burning questions or thoughts they'd like to share? saw your hand first.
Yes, to get a Akashic reading with you, do I need to know my birthday?
No, you do not. You're welcome.
I think I saw you next.
If one is still struggling with the connection with spirit guides, even with their own higher self and such, do you have any other like tips? I'm guessing sitting on the earth is probably one of them, but is there anything else that you would recommend?
It is always meditation. In order to be in a channeled state means that you are in an altered state, and that is what you practice when you go into meditation. You're practicing being in an altered state and allowing yourself to not be interrupted or pulled away from that altered state. Because when I am channeling, if I were to allow every thought that wanted to come in to pull me away, then I would not be able to actually give a clear message. Something might still come through, but it would likely be distorted, just from my own thoughts coming in. And so part of the reason why there can be clarity with what I'm saying when I'm doing an Akashic channeling or just channeling my guides is because I practice meditation for a very long time every day, and I have been practicing meditation for quite a while. So there is the physical preparation, which to me, I always say that comes first. We are the densest form of energy is this physical body, and that's what we're experiencing here is the densest experience of energy that we know. And so the physical body must be safe, it must be nourished, it must be able to be calm and just able to be still for 10, 15 minutes at a minimum of just starting out. The next preparation beyond that is the emotional preparation, moving up to the heart center. If your emotional state is fluctuating consistently, that does mean that your body is actually not in a grounded state either. So you're in and out, which again is going to influence and affect the messages that come through, whether it's for yourself or another person. So then there's the calming of the emotional state, which is connected to our nervous system. And on a physiological level, the reason we are, the physical connection to the astral realm, the reason why we're able to connect is through our pineal gland. So if our pineal gland, which is it's technically at the very, very, very end of our nervous system inside of our brain, but it's not technically officially connected, but through electrical components, it is connected in our body. If your nervous system is not calm, then your pineal gland is not going to be able to be activated in the same way. So that's the next piece of it. The mental preparation, which is very meditative, I would say, it affects all of those, of course. It affects your emotions, it affects the physical body, because the more that you can meditate and hold that state, the calmer your body becomes, the calmer your emotional state becomes, and the calmer that your mind becomes. You don't have so many rapid thoughts in and out all the time. And then there's the spiritual preparation. That is the way of moving up. It is from the ground up. It's not just, I'll ignore this and blast off. At least, again, for me, that's not what happens for me, and I don't think that happens for most people, honestly. So if there is a place where, in any of those that I mentioned, where there's not a lot of groundedness for you in any way, then that would be the thing to tend to and see how it goes then. Does that feel good? Great. Thank you for your question. You're welcome.
So you next.
I was wondering if you had an idea as to why you had such a strong connection with your guides when you were young and other people don't. And also kind of like a corollary to that question, which I think you kind of discussed already or answered somewhat. But so for example, like I've had a near-death experience. I don't really remember anything from it. I did a DMT trip about 2 months ago, and I remember some colors and shapes, and I was out for like 25 minutes, and I don't remember anything other than sort of seeing some, I think it would be called sacred geometry, but I don't remember any conversations or any discussions. So like, that's I guess the second part is, why do some people have these amazing memories of near-death experiences or DMT trips of like talking to entities, and I don't seem to have anything, remember anything?
That's a really beautiful question. So I'll answer that question first and then go back to your first one. So if someone, again, is not in a place where they have fully taken in this life experience, then they're not going to be able to remember things. My guides did the same thing to me. They would not, that's why my things shut down, was not only because I had to tend to my own body, but it's because if at the time, if I had had the choice to astral travel, I would not have been in my body. I absolutely would have been astral traveling whenever I could have, and that would have actually prevented me from learning all of the things that I needed to in this lifetime in the physical world in order to prepare me to do exactly what I'm doing now. So it's a very interesting game, and it is all about trust. It can feel, I know, so frustrating to say, but I am ready, and then to not have a connection to whether you're, or to go into an experience like what you described with some kind of plant medicine, have something happen and then not be able to remember it. That can feel really frustrating and disheartening. And the thing to go back to is always to trust that your higher self, your guide team, they really do know what is in the highest alignment for you. And it means that whatever is coming through at the time, you're simply not meant to remember at that time. It's that, and I know that that's not a very satisfying answer, but it does call on one of the most fundamental pieces of our experience here, which is to trust that you're here for a reason, to trust that everything is actually perfect right now in this moment. It's actually perfect. That is something, that lesson took me a long time to really fully accept. And there would be days when I would wake up and say, yeah, there's no way this is perfect. This is the farthest from perfect. And I really had to sit with myself and say, somehow this is perfect. Somehow my life is perfect exactly as it is in this moment. So how is it perfect? And then I would start looking for that. And when I started looking for the perfection, I found it. I saw it. And the more that I looked for that, the more that I could trust. And the more that I trusted, the more that came through. So it's that is this process of unfoldment, and it does take a little while because we're here in the physical, and it's dense. It's very dense. We all know. And so it just is a matter of time. It's your process and where you are. Does that feel good for that first? So the other question that you asked about with my own guides, so kind of twofold. As a child, I didn't know this, but it is part of my soul contract here at this time. I had a previous life in Lemuria that I actually was not made aware of until much later, like maybe a year ago, because I actually would not have been able to handle the information if I had learned it sooner. And I really made a lot of mistakes in that life. I allowed fear to dictate what I was doing. I allowed fear to be how I made decisions, and those decisions impacted many, many people. And it was not good. It was not helpful what happened. I have compassion for that part of myself because it was a scary time, what was going on. It was during a transition time. So I have compassion, but I did not act from my heart. I did not trust, even though I had all of this connection in that lifetime to my guides, to the 5D, as we call it. I had all of this connection, and I still didn't trust. In the moment when I needed to, I didn't. That meant that I had to go through a lifetime here now where I had to go through a lot of darkness so that I could still, even in that, when it's pitch black and there is no one around me, I have been left completely alone again and again, I still could trust. That was the question. Are you going to trust even in this moment? And so as a child, I grew up in darkness. It was a very, it's not like the normal, you know, I'll say normal, like, oh yeah, my parents would yell sometimes. It was very, very dark. My mother was raised in a cult here in California. So that came out onto her children. And I have a twin brother who I would protect. It was a very dark life. It was a very dark childhood. And so my guides were with me because of that. I had to know what else was going on. As Brandon mentioned, when I was 14, things shifted. It's because I was going to take my own life. I was done here. Since I had been 3, which is when I became fully conscious. I have memories of being an infant in a crib. So I have a freakish memory, and that does mean that all of the things that I experienced as a child, they were deeply felt, and I still remember them. That's really painful, to remember all of the abuse and have a lot of memories in me from that. So my guides were with me to see me through that, to help me through that, and so that I could understand what is the bigger picture here. Because since I had turned 3, I kept saying I would cry alone in my room and say to whoever was listening, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I would say that again and again because it was so painful to be here and to be in my house where it was very unsafe. It was deeply painful and hard and confusing, and I could not understand why. But again, from the moment that I became conscious, are you going to trust this experience? That was the question for me that I had to go through. So I did trust. I chose to. When I was 14, after my gifts had turned off for a little while, I had totally lost that. I was like, no, I don't know what I'm doing here. And in that moment, my guides came through very strongly, and they asked me, so you know that you're here for a reason, so what is it? Why are you actually here? And when they asked me that, that is why I paused what I was going to do, which was to take my own life. I paused in that moment. And I thought, yeah, that's right. I remember I used to think about that all the time. What is it that I'm doing here? Why did I come here? And immediately the answer came. It's to learn. I came here to learn. That's it. And it was that moment as a 14-year-old that I decided that I would see every person, every place, every moment as my teacher. I had been taken out of the school that I loved, which was a Montessori school for starseeds, if none of you know about that. I'd been taken out of that, and so I was in the situation where school was not safe and home life wasn't safe, but I could decide to see every moment as a teacher. That was the beginning of me then also moving back into trust, because if every moment is there to teach me, then that means it really is there for me. There is a gift here for me, and that means there is perfection in this moment, because if my purpose is to learn and I choose to see what is available to learn, then there must be some perfect gift here that is meant just for me. And that's what led me here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. So, is there any chance of us getting a glimpse, a little channeling?
A little channeling. Okay, since you asked so nicely, yes.
Since I trusted you. Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. This group is coming to a time of divine intervention. And when we say intervention, what we mean is transformation and intervention of the kind that takes them to the next level. This means that the beings in this room are prepared for the next level in spiritual development. This may look like them learning what their connection to the earth is, to their own bodies. This is fundamental, as has been listed and said already, but we will repeat again. You are here in a physical incarnation to have an experience that is physical and that is also spiritual. This is the gift of the human being. This is the gift of the human animal. You take care of your body, you walk your body, you feed and water your body like you would an animal. You move it so that it is satisfied, and then you learn what else it can do. You take it to the next height when you choose to connect with something that is beyond the physical body. This is where you as a group are going. You are entering into a phase where you are ready to see what is beyond the physical, what is beyond your own body, and what is outside of your own mind. The first step to this is to learn what feels right to you, what feels good to you, including in this evening, in this moment. What does not feel right, you discard. And what feels right and in alignment, you keep and you grow. You see what else it will manifest and bloom into. Everything that you experience is a seed that takes root in your garden, in your heart, and then you see what it blossoms into. This is how each being is unique. They take in certain seeds that are just meant for them, that is fertilized perfectly in the soil of their heart, and they grow into something beyond themselves. From our perspective, something that is magnificent. Human beings, the animal of the human, is very magnificent. It is a splendid creation. It is perfection in the way that it has been designed, in the way that you are able to manipulate it. There is much to learn beyond the physical, and the first is in the physical. Once there has been mastery in the physical, in whatever format is appropriate and correct for the individual, then comes the understanding of the heart. What is in the deepest part of your heart? What lies beyond the heart? This leads you into deeper knowing and deeper understanding of the true core of you as a multidimensional being. Your heart is a multidimensional energy center and organ. It connects you to all parallel lifetimes. This is how, when you enter into a space, you can have emotions arise that do not make sense to you. You can have ideas arise that do not make sense to you. This is because you are connected multidimensionally through time and space in this organ. This is the center for creation. This is a connection to the all. Understand your heart to see beyond who you are and to see who you can become. Beyond this, there is the understanding of how you operate in the world as a multidimensional being. Everything that you touch, every being that you interact with, everything that you look at is affected by your presence. You modify and change everything around you from simply being in the space, from simply looking in that direction. This is your connection to the multidimensional aspect of being. As other beings in other spaces and dimensions, they do not have the same effect that humans have. You are connected to the densest form of energy and therefore carry a great impact, although do not see it, and are very much told that you do not have an impact. Humans are learning the impact that they have. This is happening on a large scale at first. The earth is undergoing changes, and there are traumas that are taking place on the earth because humans are still learning the impact that they have in the physical. Master the impact in your own physical self, and you will be able to affect the physical on the collective level, on the earth level. You are entering into a space and a time when all of the collective is prepared to receive new incoming information. Master the density in order to master the higher realms, the light. Prepare yourselves. Prepare your beings. Prepare and learn the multidimensional connection that you have at this time so that you are fully equipped and, as it were, have taken care of the prerequisites for future channelings, for future connections to take place. Those that will occur on individual levels and those that will occur on global levels. Prepare your multidimensional selves. My energy stays with me. Your energy stays with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. And I know everyone here is as grateful as I am for you and your gifts. And yeah, this has been beautiful.
Thank you. It has been. Thank you all very much for holding this space. This was collective. Thank you for whatever just came through. I'm excited to see the footage.
Do we get a copy of it?
Yes. You will. Good. Yes. Yeah. And thank you, Karen. Thank you, Brandon, for making this possible, and all of the other angels and fairies that are in this space that have made this possible. And thank you to all of you for the medicine that you brought. This was a collective gathering, and the everything that is channeled that comes through only comes through because of the people who are in the room or who are receiving the message. So thank you.
You're all doing something right.
Yes.
All right. Let's enjoy the rest of the day.
Great. Thank you.